Guys, if you're enjoying the series so far, it would help me out tremendously if you could click the thumbs up button on the video. It helps get the video out to more people and encourages me to continue making these very long tutorial series. So if you could do that, that'd be great if you're enjoying the series. And if you haven't already done so, because a lot of my viewers are not subscribed to the channel, so if you are watching and you are enjoying the content and you're not currently subscribed, then if you could hit the subscribe button, you can unsubscribe at any point. You're not tied in for a length of time. Again, that would help out the channel immensely. So thanks very much for your time, and let's get on with the video.
I'm Xanderwood. I make indie games and tutorials on game development. I also play your indie games every week on my channel. Make sure you subscribe and click that bell icon so you never miss a video.
And a huge shout out to my new channel members and Patreon supporters: Jet Simon, Basic Terror, Enmark Games, Zan, Foozle CC, James Welsh, Olivia Bernier, Tor Alexanderson, Matt, Fan Van, Mari Lewis, Seth Coble, and Retro Galaxy. Hey guys, welcome back to Castlevania. Got a couple of things to fix in this episode. Last time we added in this zone. If we stand inside the zone, these things will start to spawn. If we stand outside the zone, they won't, but they do hit the walls and they stop moving. So what I want to do today is add in a function that these things can call. When they hit the wall, they can just fade out and then just keep moving as if they're kind of ghosts. So they don't bounce back and forward, they just go and they don't come back. We also need to add in the ability to kill them with our weapons, and then that should finish off these guys in terms of what they are going to do. Okay, so let's go over to the enemies event sheet. Let's first of all add in a condition, not a condition, an event that kills these enemies when they get hit with our weapons. So we've got our weapons family over on the right here. So on the ghoul sheet here, let's just add an event to ghouls, and let's just say ghoul, and then we can say on collision with another object, and we can say weapons. So basically any of the weapons in there. Then we're going to add an action, and we're going to say ghoul, and we're going to say destroy. Now this isn't going to be true for the whip, so let's also add that in as well. So copy and paste that, double click in, change weapons, and we're going to change it to hit trigger, which is the whip. We're going to destroy the ghoul, and we also need to change it, if we copy and paste that one more time, and then change this to holy water particles, because the holy water particles are not part of our weapons family. So, oh, perfect. Now if they touch the water particles, they destroy. We can whip them to destroy them. So I've got the axe now. So the axe now destroys them as well, and also the dagger. Now we need to add in a few more conditions. We need to destroy the weapon when it hits the ghoul. So we're going to say add action, and we're going to go down and say weapons, destroy. We are going to, I think that's fine, because we're not going to need to destroy the whip on that one. And we're not going to destroy the particles because they're going to be on the floor anyway. Let's comment that out. Select the top action there, the event, and just hit Q on the keyboard to add a comment. And I'm just going to say killing ghouls, just so I can look at it at a glance and know exactly where those events are. So now we need to fix the fact that when they hit the wall, they are going to fade out, if you will. So let's add another, not a variable, let's add a behavior to the ghouls. This one is going to be the tween behavior. Let's go back to enemies and let's create a function. And we're going to call this Ghoul Fade. Now, when we call the Ghoul Fade function, what do we want to happen? We want the ghoul, and we want to tween one property. So let's say, in fact, the first thing we need to do is we need to disable the platform behavior, because otherwise they're not going to be able to move through the rock. So we'll disable the platform behavior, and we'll add an action, and we'll say ghoul tween one property. And this property is going to be, let's do the X first. Let's tween them. No, let's do the opacity first. Opacity, end value is 0. The time is going to be 0.5 seconds. And we want to, let's just keep that as it is for now. We want to call that function when the ghoul hits. Well, actually, in the last episode, I created these ghoul change direction sprites. I was playing around. You don't need those. Let's bring those down there. I just add one at each point. I add one there and one there. I was playing around with maybe making them change direction when they hit the wall, but I've decided I would rather just have them fade out and just kind of fade into the wall like a ghost. So let's delete one of those. We can keep the other one, and I'm just going to call this one Ghoul Fader. It's basically just a sprite. I just cloned the Ghoul trigger sprite there. It's a sprite. So Ghoul Fader, it doesn't need any instance variables. And I'm going to pop that one there, and I'm going to clone it, and I'm going to pop it over here against that block, just where they'll basically just disappear into the level. So go back to the enemies, and let's add an event, and we're going to say Ghoul on collision with another object, and that's going to be the Ghoul Fader. Then we're going to call in that function Ghoul Fade. Now, if we watch how this works, let's watch this guy now. He should stop and then just fade out. There you go. But then you can see they're all doing that. So we need to make that specific. So let's just walk to the other side and just see. Oh, why is he? Oh, he faded out because the other guy. I see, yeah. So he faded out because one of the other ghouls hit this specific trigger, and he didn't get a chance to get over to this one. So what we need to do now is we need to create another function which then checks to see checks the ghoul's ID to make sure that the ghoul touching it is the ghoul that's fading out. So let's add another function, ghoul exit. In fact, we could have renamed those the other way. Let's do that now. Let's edit this one. Bear with me. Exits, because it's got to be different. And then I'm going to right click and I'm going to change this one to Ghoul Fade. And I'm going to drag these two down into that one. There. Now, because I want to put the Ghoul Fade function into the Ghoul Exit. And I'm going to call Ghoul Exit when he touches that sprite. So I'm going to right click and add a perimeter. And I'm going to call this one Ghoul UID, which is the unique ID of the ghoul we're talking about. So that's what's going to need to, and you can see that's popped it up there. In fact, we can just do this now, and we can say ghoul.uid. That's the perimeter we're going to pass. So in order for us to call that function now, it's going to need to specifically reference the unique ID of the ghoul in question. Now, let's just go down here and let's go add function and call Ghoul Fade. So all we're doing now is calling this, but we're passing the unique ID through the Ghoul exits function. But they're all fading out. I know why. Because we've got to do a sub event and add in Ghoul, and we've got to pick it by unique ID. And it's going to be that one. Okay, so it turns out I just needed to bring these two events from the Ghoul Fades down into Ghoul Exit. So let's just take out Ghoul Fades. I don't think we needed the two. So all we've got now is that function which then uses the unique ID of the ghoul in question, and then it just disables the platform variable, the platform behavior, and adds in the tween. Now we need to check to see if the ghoul is mirrored or not mirrored, so we can tween him the correct way. So add a sub event, and we're going to say ghoul, and we're going to say is mirrored, and we're going to add a second sub event, copy that down, and then invert it to say is not mirrored. Now if they are mirrored, it means they're facing to the left, which means we can go down and say ghoul, and we can tween another property, just one, and this one is going to be the X position, and the end value is going to be its current value, which is self.x, and because we're going to the left, we're going to minus 32 pixels, and that's going to take 1 second. I'm going to copy that down into the second one, but instead of saying minus, we're going to say plus 32 pixels, because he's going to be moving to the right, and hopefully that is enough to tween these things out of shot. So we'll just check this one on the left first, and then we'll check the ones on the right. There you go. They're moving off quite nicely out of view. And then this guy now should fade off quite nicely into the steps. Great. Now they are going to be, if I change the opacity to 20 rather than 0, you're going to see that they're not going away. They're just staying in one place. They're going to tween their way through the block, but they're not going to disappear. They're just going to stay there and pile up. So what we need to do when they finish their tween is destroy them. So I'm going to go add action. I'm going to go system, and I'm going to do a wait for 1 second, which is how long it's going to take them to tween. And then I'm going to say ghoul destroy. And remember, because we're within that function, it's only going to destroy the ghoul in question. Now we can set the opacity back to 0. And we're good. Let's move this function now up into the ghouls group. Let's move this one up into the ghouls group as well. And now this is everything that controls our ghouls. Now the only other thing we need to do is add in those particles when we kill them. So let's go back to enemies. In fact, let's go down, not in the ghouls exit. There we go, attacking ghouls. So we're going to go add action, and we're going to say ghoul. And in fact, we're not going to say ghoul, we're going to say weapons. We're going to say weapons, and we're going to spawn in another object. That object's going to be the particles. These ones here. It's going to be on the objects layer. Same thing with this one, except the weapons aren't going to spawn it. This time they're hit. Where is it? The hit trigger is going to spawn it. And the same thing here, but this time the ghoul is going to spawn it. So ghoul, spawn another object, and that's going to be the particles on layer objects. Let's also go back to the layout. Let's make this thing initially not visible. This thing is on the objects layer. I can take this back to layer 0. These are on the objects layer. In fact, I can probably just select them all in objects, candles, layer 0. And now we should be pretty good. There we go. We can kill these ghouls. Yeah, there we go. Although I think the dagger is probably disappearing a little too soon. It's disappearing. It doesn't look like it's hitting them. So let's just fix that. So weapons on collision with ghouls. Let's just add a simple wait. And we're going to say 0.5. And then we'll do everything else. Oh, that's way too long. I think we need to go 0.05. Just a fraction. Better. That's better. So there we go. We're looking good, guys. In the next episode, we're going to add in the second enemy type, which will be the bats. So thanks for sticking around if you made it this far. And as always, I'll see you in the next episode.